Good morning and happy Mother's Day, and welcome to this beautiful Mother's Day at Unity of Orange County. We're so glad that you've joined us today. We hope you have a wonderful day, and congratulations to all the mothers out there. And so we are glad that you are here today. Reminder that we have our class on Wednesday at 6:30, and it's How to Pray Without Talking to God. And we're having a fellowship today after the service at 11 o'clock, and that information went out yesterday as far as the Zoom information. And I wanted to remind you again that if you go buy things on Amazon, and everybody is buying stuff on Amazon right now because people aren't going out and going to stores, instead of going on Amazon.com, go on SmileAmazon.com. Everything works the same, and you can pick Unity of Orange County as your charity, and we get a little percentage of everything that you spend. So we're glad that we hope that you'll do that. We also want to remind you that on Monday at 4 o'clock, we have our mindful stress reduction. After this many weeks of being at home, especially if you have children or if you are with a spouse that you haven't spent a lot of time with before now, you might really need this. It's at 4 o'clock on Monday. Just take your computer or your phone, go in a room, get away from everybody else, and find ways to just allow yourself to de-stress. And we have our app now, so you can go on your app store and go to My Church, push pay, and you are able to get our app. We're Unity of Orange County, and we hope that you sign up on our app. And we would like to do our vision and mission statement always when we begin our service. And our vision statement is, centered in divine love, we joyfully co-create a world that works for all. And our mission is to awaken, inspire, and transform lives. And I would like to take time now to thank those people who are making this service possible. We have Tom as sound, and John and his assistant Christopher on video, and Bill on piano, and Reverend Allison for our daily word and meditation. And so I'd like now to introduce Reverend Allison.
And the daily word for today is a mother's blessing. Sunday, May 10th, 2020. I honor all mothers, and I am grateful for their love. I bless my mother, and I am grateful to her for the gift of nurturing love. Whether my mother is still with me or has passed on, her love still lives in my heart, and her wisdom continues to inspire me. I am grateful for the many ways my mother has blessed me. I also feel deep appreciation and tender affection for all those who have blessed me with the selfless gift of motherly love. I would not be who I am without them. Through the living example of the mothers in my life, I pass along the blessings of a mother's love and care and devotion. And I embrace opportunities to share an affirming thought, an encouraging word, a smile, or a simple act of kindness. I honor my mother and all mothers as I share the love of God that never fails. And the scripture today is from Proverbs 31:26. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. And let's go ahead and take a moment and prepare for our meditation. Find a comfortable space and just begin to have those wonderful healing breaths. And just allow yourself this moment to be in that complete silence and that wonderful opportunity of going within. as you breathe in more, just allow that calmness to come over your body. And then as you are in the silence and as you are experiencing that moment, let us become like a mother's love, like the embrace. And then let's embrace ourselves with that love. As you sit in the silence, just feel the warmth of that embrace. As we continue to go just a little bit deeper, let us begin to feel Mother Nature's wonderful embracing hug as she welcomes spring and enfolds us in the beauty of flowers and trees and sunshine. Just imagine that sunshine as you feel the warmth. And now remembering that embrace of your mother and remembering that wonderful Mother Earth, let us then begin to understand that Earth just keeps spinning out all these wonderful new days, new opportunities for us to live and to breathe and to have this moment. So let us embrace Mother Earth at this time. Let us be reminded that Mother Earth gives us an opportunity. We have a new day, a new opportunity to awaken. And each day we get to choose what we want to be that day. So as we rest in the silence, let's begin to think about what is it that I want to impart on this Mother's Day. And just remembering the love of the mother, the love of Mother Nature, the love of Mother Earth. When you're ready, just bring your attention back to this time and space and go forth and spread that love. Namaste.
Well, good morning again, and welcome to the third part in our series, What Does Unity Believe? So, to refresh your memory, the first principle of unity is that there's one presence, one power in the universe, in our life. It is God, all-powerful, all-knowing, God presence, and God good. And that there is a spark of the divine within each of us. So today we're going to talk about the third one. I always say that unity's third principle is the one that often causes people to run out of unity screaming and yelling that this is not for them. I know if I had come to unity and not been exposed to this thought beforehand, and I had heard this, I would have gone running out. My life was a mess. At one point, I thought if anything could go wrong, it would, and it did. And I had this friend whose life always seemed to go so well, and I could never understand why her life went so well and my life never went so well. And I used to say she could walk through a field of cow pies and not get her shoes dirty. And I could walk through a nice green pasture and there'd be one little pile from a dog or a cow or something, and I would walk in it. And I couldn't figure out why. The fact of the matter is that she had a really positive attitude to life, and I had this negative attitude that if something could go wrong, it would. I would apply for a job and just naturally assume I wouldn't get it. I would be attracted to somebody and I would naturally assume they would have no interest in me. I just never expected anything good to come in my life, and so nothing ever did come for good. And then I went to see a woman who was my therapist and the woman who taught me how to meditate. And she explained to me that we have a choice in our life. We get to choose the life that we live, and that we do this by changing our consciousness, changing our thoughts, changing our words, changing our actions. And I would say to her, that's not true. You know, I don't have any choice. And she said, yes, you do. And I would say, well, I did this and this thing happened. And she would say, well, you can choose differently. You can choose differently as soon as you think about it differently. And so by the time I got to Unity, I was familiar with this idea. But I have to tell you, a year earlier, I would not have stayed. And sometimes I think that's why people come to Unity and they hear this and they think, well, I have all this stuff going on in my life. I had nothing at all to do with this. What control do I have over my life? And do every time I have a thought that is created in my life? You know, we have thousands of thoughts in our minds every day, and not every thought we have becomes an outpicturing in our life. But Charles Fillmore said, it is thoughts that we hold in our mind that create after their kind. So it's not just every abandoned thought that happens to come along and hit you in the head. It's the thoughts that we hold in our mind. It's that feeling that I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I can do it, or I am good enough. So there's a story of a woman who was being chased by a monster. This was a big monster, ugly, gnarly, making all kinds of noises, and this monster just chased her all over the place. And trying to escape the monster, she ran into this, what she thought was a canyon, and it turned out to be a cul-de-sac. So she gets to the end of the cul-de-sac and she's up against the wall and the monster is like right on top of her. And she goes, oh, please, please, please don't eat me. And the monster says to her, well, that's up to you. It's your dream. So the monsters in our life are those things that we think of all the time and we create, the big problems, all the big stuff that goes on, and we don't realize that we have created these monsters. Now, someone might say, well, I had nothing at all to do with the COVID virus. I certainly didn't create the COVID virus, and I'm not saying that you did, but it's how we react to things that we have power over. There are things that we do have control over by our thoughts. There are things on the outside we don't have control over by our thoughts, but we always have power over how we react to any situation. And how we react to something determines whether that thing is a negative or a positive in our life. And there have been many teachers that have taught this. Charles Fillmore is the Unity one, but Bill Provis said, when you rule the mind, you rule your world. So this isn't something that's just new with Unity. This has been around forever. Marcus Aurelius, who was a 2nd century mystic, said, as soon as I find Marcus, we'll forget Marcus, because Marcus has disappeared. But Zig Ziglar, who was a modern-day philosopher who taught all about how to do well in business, he says, your business is never really good or bad out there. It is either good or bad right between your ears. So things are good or bad between our ears. So it's the story of the man who goes to a therapist because his marriage is terrible. And he says to the therapist, I have the worst marriage in the world. My wife just nags and she complains all the time. She's never happy with anything that I do. I'm really fed up with her. I'm going to get a divorce. And the therapist says to him, okay, but try this experiment before you say you want a divorce. Go home and kill your wife with kindness. Just treat her really well. Offer to do things for her. Compliment her when she does something well. Just really see her the way you would like to see a wife in your imagination. That, if you ever divorced her. So he goes home and he starts treating his wife really well, and he starts complimenting her and really, showing her all the great things that she does and treating her well and buying her gifts. And weeks go by and he goes back to the therapist, and the therapist says to him, well, are you ready to divorce your wife? And he goes, why would I divorce my wife? I have the best wife in the world. Now, nothing changed. He's married to the same person. But what changed was his thinking. And as his thinking changed and his words changed and his actions changed, she changed. See, we don't really control the outside circumstances, but by our thinking, we control how we react to them and how they affect our lives. And we have to remember that it is these thoughts that determine what happens. So there's a story of Jesus and Peter, where Jesus walks in the water. So the disciples are in a boat. They're in the middle of a lake. Jesus is on the other side, and Jesus starts walking to them on the water. And the disciples are like freaking out. Jesus is walking on the water, and they go, Jesus, is that really you? And Jesus goes, yeah, this is me. And Peter, now seeing Jesus walk on the water, thinks, wow, Jesus is doing this. I can do this. So he gets out of the boat, and he steps on the water, and he starts walking on the water. And then you can just see this aha moment where he thinks, oh my God, I'm walking on the water, and immediately sinks. Because the mind has told him, you can't walk on the water. And then Jesus comes and takes him out, and Jesus says, ye of little faith. When we doubt something, we create that doubt, and that keeps things from manifesting in our life. So we believe we can do something. We have this idea, say, for a business, and we really believe this is a great idea. And we make the mistake of sharing it with someone. And they say to us, what are you, crazy? You can't do that. And so we believe we can't do it. And then guess what happens? We don't. So when I was young, my father always used to say to me, don't tell anybody anything ahead of time, because people will discourage you. So he would never tell us anything. He would come home with a new car. He would never say he was buying a new car. He would come home, and we'd come home from school, and our mother would be packing, and he would say, we're going on vacation. No warning. Not we're going on vacation next week. We're going on vacation now. Pack your stuff. Because he truly believed that once you put things out there, people had a habit of telling you something wasn't possible. When we decided to do our retreat center, we had decided we weren't going to tell anybody, because we knew it was something so crazy that the more people we would share this with, the more people would say to us, you can't do that. How are you going to do that? And so we kept it to ourselves with only a couple of close friends who we knew would support us in what we were doing. So this idea that we create our life is something that has been around a while. Many years ago, there was a Japanese man who took an experiment with water. And what he did is he put water in these containers. And some containers, he said very loving words. He wrote very loving words. Some containers, he wrote negative things. And the waters in the crystals changed based on by the words that were said to them. So a man decided to do an experiment with rice. Rice has a lot of water in it. And so what he did is he cooked up some rice, and he decided to put the same amount of rice into 3 different containers and label them and speak different thoughts to these containers. And this is his experiment.
brand new glass containers. I cooked some rice and added the exact same amount of rice in each container. And every day for about 2 months, I'd spend 60 seconds per container telling them either negative or positive things. The container marked love. I'd say nice things such as, "You're awesome," and "I love you." And to the container marked hate, I'd say horrible things such as, "You don't deserve to live," and "You make me sick," and "Go and kill yourself." And the container marked ignore, I do just that. It's been about 9 weeks now, and it's finally over. And I'm happy to tell you that it's a success. Alright? And this is what happened. Alright, so the container marked with love it's in quite good shape. It's a little yellow, but I'd probably eat it. Alright. And the container marked hate it's in bad shape. Alright, this is quite disgusting. There's no way I would even touch this. The container marked ignore it's in better shape than the container marked hate, but it's still quite disgusting. It's actually quite surprising because I thought that the container marked ignore would be in the worst shape of all. But for some reason, it's not. You know, I've seen people doing this experiment and the container marked ignore would always, in most cases, be the one in the worst shape. This experiment, it just proves to me that our thoughts is not just an interior force, but also an exterior force, which means that our thoughts gives out some kind of energy, you know, vibrations when we think about something, and it goes outwards. Now, you might think that there's room for coincidence, but this works every time. If you want to try it yourself and narrow down your odds, try using 25 containers or even 50 containers. This works, and it shows that our thoughts literally shapes our life. It all starts in your mind. What you think and feel, you will become. If you think in positive terms, your life will be positive in every aspect of life. I guarantee it.
So if our thoughts can change rice, imagine what else our thoughts could do. We are so used to living life from the outside in, from allowing circumstances and people to determine our life. But the truth of the matter is that we live our life from the inside out. The enemies to us are not out there. The enemies are within. Jesus said in Matthew, "A man's foes will be those of his own household." He wasn't talking about the parents and the brothers and the sisters. The foes of your own household are the thoughts, because this is our household. This is our brain. This is our mind. This is our body. And the thoughts that we hold in here, they become either our enemy or our friend, depending on what we do. We have to ask ourselves if we're looking at our life and we're looking at it honestly, and if there's something that isn't going the way we would like, or isn't working as well, what is it that we are doing or not doing that is bringing this about? We have to stop living our life as a victim and realize that we are all volunteers in our life. And depending on our thinking and our words and our actions, we create the life that we live. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you happy with the life that you have created? Or is it time for you to start changing your consciousness, changing your thinking, and thereby changing your life? So I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and bring to mind if there is an area in your life where things may not be going as well. It could be health, it could be relationships, it could be your environment, it could be anything, a job, something that maybe isn't the way you would like it to be. And ask yourself this: What is your thinking in this area? For instance, if you have a problem with your job, is it your job or is it your attitude to the job? What would happen if you went into that job, no matter how you think you feel about it, and go in every day and say to yourself before you go in, I love my job. I love what I do. I give because I love to give in this job. I serve God and I serve others in this job. And you just go in and you do the best you can do any day. You might find that that job is the best job for you. Or you will find a better job, one that fits. Or maybe it's a health challenge. Maybe you've come to believe that whatever is wrong with you physically, that's what's wrong with you. Maybe it's something that runs in your family or something that you feel you have no control over. What would happen if, like Myrtle Fillmore, you began talking loving thoughts to your body? Thoughts of love and kindness and compassion. And just every day imagining that part of your body as being perfect and whole. You might be surprised. Even if you have a medical condition that requires medical attention. What would happen if you would envision the doctors and nurses as being angels of God, avenues of God, healing you, helping you heal? Our thoughts do determine our life. This idea is not something that we use to beat up on ourselves or to beat up on others. It's to help us to go within, to look deep within ourselves, and truly and honestly ask ourselves, how can I change this? How can I change my thinking? We cannot do this alone. We have to take this into prayer and meditation. And know that God within us can do this. That God within us can help us to change that thinking, to make us realize that we are perfect and whole. We are loved. We are God's creation. And within us is all kinds of possibilities, if you only believe it. For what you believe, you can achieve. And so we say, thank you, God. Thank you for that knowing, that wisdom, and that willingness to work on what needs to be changed. Not people, not places, not things, but our own thinking, our own words, and our own actions. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. So we always like to go over our 5 basic principles here at Unity, just to remind us and to give you a little idea of what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So our first one is that God is all good and active in everything, everywhere. And the second is that I am naturally good because God's divinity is in me and in everyone. And 3, I create my experiences by what I choose to think and what I feel and believe. And 4, through affirmative prayer and meditation, I connect with God and bring out the good in my life. And 5, I do and give my best by living the truth that I know. I make a difference. And one way we make a difference is by giving. And we surely appreciate all the gifts that people have been giving us. We wouldn't be able to be here without those gifts. So you can go to our website, unityoforangecounty.org, and donate through there. You can mail a check in if that's what you would like. Our address is on our website. Or you can text your donation to 77977, and in the message put Unity of OC Give. Or if you have our app, you can go right on our app, click on the Give button, and you can give that way. You can give a recurring gift, a one-time gift. Any of your gifts are greatly appreciated. And so now we like to close with our prayer for protection. And again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You may not be able to see your children, you may not be able to be with them, but you know that being a mother is one of the greatest gifts there is. And we can always give thanks to God for that gift. And so let us affirm our closing prayer. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you. Namaste. Have a great week.